Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 638, A Village Wedding Tale, Homophones 6, Intermediate. In a quaint English village nestled between rolling hills, preparations for a grand wedding were underway. The bridal party burst with excitement, dressing in delicate lace gowns, while the groom adjusted his bridle on his horse, ready to lead the procession. The village square was alive with chatter, and the air carried the scent of fresh flowers. Anna, the bride's cousin, wanted to broach the topic of the wedding speech with her shy brother, Tom. She pinned a sparkling brooch to her dress, hoping it would give her confidence. "Tom, will you say a few words?" she asked gently. Tom, nervous, scratched at a burr stuck to his jacket, its prickly burr catching his fingers. "I'll try," he mumbled, "but I'm no good at speeches." The wedding was set by the old mill, where the river ran clear. Anna, ever practical, had decided to buy the decorations herself, stopping by the village market to pick them up. "Bye for now," she called to the stallholder, waving as she left. The buyer of the flowers, a kind farmer, had his byre nearby, where cows lowed softly as he handed over the blooms. Back at the village hall, the calendar on the wall marked the big day with a red circle. Anna noticed an old calendar machine in the corner, used long ago to smooth cloth, now gathering dust. She smiled, thinking how times had changed. The hall was draped in canvas, its rough texture perfect for the rustic theme, though Anna had to canvass the villagers for extra chairs to seat everyone. The ceremony began, and the vicar's voice rang out with a call to gather. A thin call of mist hung over the fields, adding a mystical touch to the day. The guests, from every caste of life, farmers, shopkeepers, and even a local artist of a higher caste in the village's social order, sat together, united in celebration. As the vows were exchanged, Tom stood nervously, ready to give his speech. "I'm not much for words," he began, "but love binds us, not just today, but forever." The crowd chuckled at his accidental pun, easing his nerves. The day ended with dancing, laughter, and a shared hope for the couple's future. The village wedding, with its simple joys and heartfelt moments, became a story told for years, a reminder that love, in all its forms, brings people together. Vocabulary notes. Bridal, adjective. Definition, relating to a bride or a wedding. Example from the story, the bridal party burst with excitement, dressing in delicate lace gowns. Similar words. Nuptial, relating to marriage or weddings, e.g., the nuptial ceremony was beautiful. Matrimonial, relating to marriage, e.g., they celebrated their matrimonial bliss. Note, often used to describe things associated with the bride or wedding, like bridal gown or bridal bouquet. Broach, verb. Definition, to bring up or introduce a topic for discussion. Example from the story, Anna wanted to broach the topic of the wedding speech with her shy brother, Tom. Similar words. Raise, to bring up a topic, e.g., she raised the issue during the meeting. Introduce, to start a conversation about something, e.g., he introduced the idea of a new project. Note, used in formal or careful contexts when starting a sensitive or new topic. Burr, noun. Definition, a prickly seed case or flower head that sticks to clothing or fur. Example from the story, Tom, nervous, scratched at a burr stuck to his jacket, its prickly burr catching his fingers. Similar words. Thorn, a sharp point on a plant, e.g., the rose's thorn pricked her finger. Prickle, a small, sharp point, e.g., the cactus was covered in prickles. Note, burr and burr are homophones. Burr can also refer to a rough edge or a way of speaking. Canvas, noun. Definition, a strong, coarse fabric used for sails, tents, or painting surfaces. Example from the story, the hall was draped in canvas, its rough texture perfect for the rustic theme. Similar words. Fabric, general term for cloth, e.g., the dress was made of fine fabric. Material, substance used for making things, e.g., they used sturdy material for the tent. Note, canvas, is often associated with art or heavy-duty uses, unlike canvas, to seek votes or opinions. Cast, noun. Definition: a group of people or things, often with a specific role or type. Example from the story: the guests from every caste of life, farmers, shopkeepers, and even a local artist of a higher caste, sat together. Similar words. Group: a collection of people or things, e.g., a group of friends attended the event. Set: the specific collection, e.g., the set of musicians played beautifully. Note: cast can also mean to throw or assign roles, e.g., in a play, while caste refers to a social class. Story written by Grok AI. Image created by Grok AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.
Hey there. Have you ever been completely stumped by English words that sound exactly alike but mean something totally different? Don't worry, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to crack the code on these tricky word twins. Okay, let's just dive right in. Take a look at these two words. They sound identical, right? But one little letter, just one, changes the whole meaning from something about a wedding to a piece of horse tack. How does that even happen? And that, right there, is the heart of the puzzle we're solving today. We're talking about words that are basically sound-alikes, almost like they were designed just to keep us on our toes. And yep, there's a fancy name for this, a homophone. The name itself is actually a huge clue. It comes from the Greek words homo for same and phony for sound. Same sound. Simple, right? Well, let's see how they work in the real world. Now, to really get a feel for how these words operate out in the wild, we are not going to sit here and look at boring lists. No way. Instead, we're going to dive into a short story set in a cozy little English village. That's right. Our main example is a village wedding tale. It is the perfect setting, really, to see how these confusing word pairs just pop up in everyday language, creating this living puzzle that we can solve together. All right, now for the fun part. It's time to unpack these pairs. We're going to pull specific examples right out of the story and put them under the microscope. So here we go, our first pair straight from the story. You can almost picture it, can't you? You've got the bridal party, all that wedding excitement, and then a totally different scene. The groom with his horse adjusting its bridle. Two completely different images from words that sound exactly the same. And here's a huge clue. Bridal is an adjective. It's a describing word, like a bridal gown. But bridle, that's a noun. It's a physical thing. Just knowing if a word is describing something or is something is a super powerful way to tell them apart. Okay, let's check out our next pair. In this scene, Anna wants to broach a topic, bring up a conversation. At the same time, she's physically pinning a sparkly brooch to her dress. You can really see the difference here. It's an action versus an object. To broach a topic is a verb. It's what you do. A brooch is a noun. It's a thing you can wear. When you're just reading, that different spelling is the only hint you get. Ooh, now this next one is really tricky because they're both nouns and they both refer to something prickly. He's got a burr, a little seed pod stuck on his jacket, and he feels its sharp, prickly burr or rough edge. So a burr is a very specific thing that comes from a plant. A burr, on the other hand, can be a rough edge on metal, or it could even be the way someone talks, like a distinct accent. They're both kind of prickly concepts, but in totally different ways. All right, back to the wedding hall for our next pair. The whole room is decorated with canvas, the fabric. But then Anna has to canvass the villagers. She's performing an action, going around and asking for help. You gotta pay close attention to that double S. Canvas with one S is the material. Canvas with two S's suddenly makes it a verb, the action of surveying people. That one extra letter completely shifts it from a thing to an action. And for our last pair from the story, we're looking at the people, the guests. The story says they come from every caste of life, every type of person. But then it points out that one guest belongs to a higher social caste. Now, this one's pretty subtle. Caste can mean a group, like the cast of a play, or just a general type of person. But caste, with that E at the end, is way more specific. It's talking about a rigid social system. So the context of social class is the dead giveaway for caste. So we've seen all these confusing words, but what's the solution? How can you actually figure these out when you come across them yourself? Well, the answer is actually a lot simpler than you might think. The absolute key is context. The sentence that the word is sitting in gives you all the clues you need to figure out its meaning and its spelling. So let's put that to the test right now with an example from our story. Okay, take a look at this sentence. A thin blank of mist hung over the fields. A thin something of mist. What kind of word would fit there to describe a thin layer of mist? So here are your choices. Is it call, like a shout, or is it call? Just think about the context. A thin layer, almost like a veil of mist. Which one makes sense? And if you chose call, you are spot on. A call is a thin, filmy layer. The words around it, thin and mist, were your clues, pointing you directly to the right answer. See, you just solved it using context. So, after all that, what is the big takeaway? How do you actually go about mastering homophones? It all really boils down to this. Homophones might sound the same, but that's where the similarities end. They have their own spellings, their own meanings, their own jobs. The real takeaway isn't to memorize a million different words, but to become a word detective. The power is always in the sentence around the word. That's your secret decoder ring. You know, mastering homophones is just one little piece of the giant, amazing puzzle that is the English language. And that leaves me with a question for you. What other tricky English words are tripping you up? Let us know, and hey, maybe we'll tackle them in our next explainer. Thanks for joining me.